Hi, I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. And speaking of stars and bright lights, I just want to announce that, remember, next week is Thanksgiving week, and so the station will be just airing a repeat of this show. But if you want to see new shows during the time when they're airing their repeats for the holidays, you can always go to my website, starborninstitute.org, because there will be a new show there, or to my YouTube channel, which is called KarenCampbell.com or Karen Campbell at YouTube. So just remember, you can pick up new shows there while the station staff is doing repeats, because they're going to all be home enjoying the holidays, which I hope you're doing too. And for tonight's show, the title is A Price to Pay. And the reason why there can be a price to pay that we might all have to pay in one way or another is because there are 4 fierce planets in the fixed financial signs, and they're all opposing each other. And that is because Uranus is now in Taurus. Taurus is a fixed financial sign ruling how you make your money and what you spend it on or invest it in, and that Uranus is retrograde. But Uranus is called a malefic planet because it is a planet that signifies volatility or sudden surprising change. So you really can't count on it, or you don't know what it's going to do next. And that Uranus is taking a beating right now in Taurus because it is being opposed by 3 very strong planets in Scorpio, the other fixed financial sign. Because now Mars has changed signs. It's not in Libra anymore. And so it has gone into Scorpio. It's at 1 degree of Scorpio. It is joining Mercury today in Scorpio, and Mercury just went direct today. So it's moving forward, and then the Sun is also in Scorpio at the 29th degree of fate. Scorpio, being the other fixed financial sign, rules money that you could be getting or owing because it involves money coming or going to others. So Scorpio rules credit, debt, taxes, insurance, inheritance, money coming in from your employer or your friends or your family or any other source at all. And so with these 3 strong planets, remember Mars is the ruler of Scorpio. It's very strong because it's at home in the sign it rules. And it is exactly opposing Uranus. These 2 malefic planets are going head to head. That can spell financial problems. And then Mercury and the Sun are there as well, and they're all opposing that Uranus. So what it means is that it doesn't mean that you're necessarily doing anything bad and that you have a price to pay because of that, but there can be a price to pay in relation to the administration of justice. For instance, in a financial sense, there could be a price that you have to pay because you've made more money this year. So naturally you'd have to pay more taxes, so you could have a higher tax bill. But that's a pretty good price to pay, and besides, you could afford it. Or there can simply be that there can be financial penalties or fines due to the fact that you may have some overdue or delinquent bills. And there can be additional charges because of that. It might be that you're a little late on the student loan repayment, or your car payment, or the rent could be a little late, or maybe your mortgage is overdue. And along with that, or even your taxes being overdue, can come penalties and fines, which are a price that you'd have to pay. Or there could simply be higher costs involved in perhaps a medical situation. You could have higher medical bills. Scorpio does rule the whole medical field, and that's because perhaps your insurance doesn't cover everything and you'd have to pay the increased costs. Or it could simply be that you have higher property taxes. Scorpio rules taxes as well. So you might have to make up the cost of higher payments right now, And then there could also be higher credit costs. In other words, if you have gotten together a loan, and for instance, it could have been at a very low interest rate to begin with for a certain amount of time, but if that time expires and the interest rate goes up, you'd really have to have a price to pay there, and it could put quite a dent in your budget. So there's all kinds of reasons why there could be a price to pay right now. And what we need to understand is that there's always a price to pay for the choices that we make. We all know that. And so we have to be a little bit more thoughtful maybe about our choices instead. Because remember I said that the price that you may have to pay is in relation to the administration of justice. And that is because a major planet is about to change directions, and it's Neptune in Pisces. Mars, Mercury, and the Sun in Scorpio are all trining that Neptune in Pisces, and Pisces rules things that are hidden behind the scenes. It also rules all areas of confinement, and it rules creativity as well. But it rules impostors. And so now when Neptune goes direct next week on Thanksgiving, it simply means that any time around then, or perhaps in early December, there can be a lot of information that is revealed about hidden activities behind the scenes, or there can be the exposure of an imposter. And that is because of this beneficial trine among the water signs, and because Neptune is going to go direct. And when that planet goes direct, there's going to be a wealth of information gushing out that we will all have to absorb. So whether you or somebody that you know is involved in some sort of a price that they have to pay right now, either for a financial problem or a legal problem, I can guarantee you one good thing, that it's because of a wonderful grand trine in the earth signs. It simply means that whatever the price is that will have to be paid, it will be in strict accordance with the problem that has been caused, or the choice that you have made. In other words, if you have a choice that is a small problem, then there is going to be a small price to pay. But if you have a financial or a legal problem that is pretty big, it means that also the price you have to pay is going to be pretty expensive. So they'll match, and that's because the moon in Virgo is trining Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, and together those three planets are trining that Uranus in Taurus. So this is actually a very important and good time for all of us to really face the truth and some sobering reality right now. And the reason why is that there are two wonderful planets in a close conjunction, and they are Venus, which is conjuncting Jupiter in Sagittarius. Venus is at 24 degrees, Jupiter is at 28 degrees. And so that simply means that this is a time when the greatest good can be done for everyone in one way or another. And even if there is a price to pay for the choices that we make right now, it will be a fair and balanced price, and it will be in strict accordance with the level of problem. And so I think that all of us should be willing to face the truth right now and the consequences of our choices, because all our choices do have consequences. So I hope you understand that. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, for you, I think that you can have some sort of financial problem that you've got to pay the price on right now. It might be that it's you, Aries, that's made a little more money than you thought you were going to, and so you might have to pay higher taxes on that. I think that there's also the possibility that if you're facing some sort of financial problem or a legal problem of some sort, you may want to sort of get out of town. And travel is extremely well aspected for you, because that wonderful Venus and Jupiter, which are conjuncting in Sagittarius, are trining your sun sign. And maybe it's a good idea for you just to sort of get away for a while, or even a little while, Aries, and just have time to think, and as I said, face reality or face the truth, and decide how you want to handle the consequences of your choices, just like we all have to do. And some of them might be financial, because Uranus is in Taurus right ahead of your sun sign, and that Uranus is taking a beating from the planets in Scorpio right now. So it could involve credit or debts or late payments or even just taxes right now. But there is something probably that you're going to have to pay the price on. But I hope that you sort of get away and think about it first, and then maybe it won't be so bad. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is a time when it's sort of a good news, bad news time. The bad news is that Uranus in your sign is really being harshly opposed by Mars in Scorpio, which it rules. And Mars and Uranus are malefic planets, and therefore they're sort of coming head to head. That spells trouble, particularly financial trouble. But remember, the sun is there and Mercury is direct there as well. So there could be quite a sudden change in your investments, or it can be that there may be some money that you owe right now, and maybe you're going to have to sort of repay a loan, or there could be some penalties or fines connected with a tax issue, or there could be, an insurance policy that isn't covering everything, and you may just have some higher costs right now. And yet, the good news is the grand trine in earth signs does benefit you. And that's because the moon in Virgo is trining your sun sign, and Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn are trining your sun sign. So what I think that means, Taurus, is if there is a price that you have to pay now, and it could be even something that's been a little delinquent for a while, maybe it's just sort of time to make sure that all of your debts are paid down a little bit better. And so I think that what this grand trine means is that you will find help from someone else who is financially secure, that may be able to help you a little bit right now financially. So I think there's a way out of your problem as well. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, there aren't any planets in any of the air signs anymore. And that's because Mars has finally moved out of Libra, which is good. So it simply means that this can be a rather quiet time for you over the holiday. And that could be good, Gemini, because I think there is a price that you may have to pay too. And it might be for something pretty pricey that you've got your eye on. And that's because that Uranus in Taurus is right behind your sun sign. And remember, it is taking a beating from the 3 planets in Scorpio, but it's being trined by the other planets in the earth signs. So I think that if you're sort of quiet about everything right now, Gemini, and sort of quietly work on some financial deal behind the scenes, I think that there may be a way that you can afford something. And it's just that this is a more important time for you not to say too much. Remember, your sign rules communication. But I think this is a better time for you to quietly investigate things first, and line up your financial resources before you ever announce what it is you've got your eye on. So you have to be a little bit more careful about how to pay for something before you decide whether you're going to do that or not, Gemini. So think about it a little bit more if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, there certainly is a price to pay for a lot of things. And if you're thinking about paying a price, I think that you're really going to have the money for it, and I think that this is the time when you really need to sort of act fast, Cancer, on something. And the reason why is that Mars, Mercury, and the Sun in Scorpio at the fateful 29th degree are all trining your Sun, which is good, and Neptune in Pisces is also trining your Sun, and it will go direct next week, right on Thanksgiving. And that simply means you're probably going to learn more information. And because Scorpio is a fixed financial sign, and those 3 planets are trining your Sun from Scorpio, and one of them is Mars, I think that you need to act quickly on some sort of financial matter that you are either thinking that you've been thinking about for a long time. Maybe you haven't talked to too many people about it, but you could have your plans pretty well set. And it can be that someone else is planning something as well. Scorpio rules the spy business. It rules stealth. And I think that this is a time, since those planets are so beneficial to your sun sign, when you two should be very quietly investigating what is going on with other people and their money, because whatever they're doing may somehow determine how quickly you should act on what you want to do. And I feel you should act very quickly right now. Maybe you should try to beat somebody else to the punch. In other words, if you're thinking of buying something, maybe you better make up your mind on that, Cancer, and get going while the stars are with you. Because I don't think it's a matter of whether you have the money or not. It's a matter of really finding out what everybody else is doing, and maybe you should move a little bit more quickly right now in case someone else is doing the same thing. Be a little bit more competitive right now. Okay, what does it mean to Leo? Well, Leo, this is a wonderful time for you too to sort of get out of town and travel a little bit if you can, because Venus and Jupiter in Sagittarius are trining your sun. It's also a wonderful time for all of us to try to do the greatest good for all. And that means not always thinking of yourself, but of others as well. And so, you know, Leos have big hearts. They're very generous people. Extravagance is ruled by Leo. But right now, you have to face the truth. You have to sort of face a sobering reality, Leo, and it is about money, because Uranus in Taurus is squaring your sun sign, and now Mars, the Sun, and Mercury, which is direct in Scorpio, are also squaring your sun sign. You have a financial problem somewhere, Leo, and it could involve taxes or higher costs in medical areas, or involving property, or it could involve a credit problem of yours, or even an insurance problem, because Scorpio rules insurance as well. So this is a time when there can be a conflict, a financial conflict, and it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong necessarily. It might mean that you've been a little too generous. Maybe you've overextended yourself. Maybe there isn't enough money around left to pay additional taxes or penalties or fines. So you really have to sort of settle down right now, Leo. And yes, it's a wonderful time to travel, but try to do it on a budget if you can. And also address your financial problems first before they get bigger, because they're not going to get smaller unless you do something about them. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, it's wonderful that the moon is in your sign today, because it is trining that Uranus in Taurus and Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. And that certainly means that your work life and your career and your health and your long-term financial goals or investments are looking pretty good, Virgo. And so I don't necessarily think that you are going to have to pay a price for anything that you can't afford. In fact, I think if you've got your mind on something pretty pricey, Virgo, you will be able to afford it. It's just a question of whether you want to let go of the money. All the earth signs can be rather frugal. In other words, you like having the money, and you don't want to spend it unless it's spent on something that is of very high quality. And that's why if you're facing the truth or you're facing a sobering reality, it might involve the value of something. Maybe you have to really ask yourself if something is worth it before you go ahead. Not whether you can afford it exactly, but whether it will hold up or increase in value. It might not. And that's why you need to be a little bit more careful about what you're doing with your money. And it isn't a question of whether you can afford it or not. It's a question of whether that money is going to be put to the best use that you can find for it. So you need to think a little bit more about that instead. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, oh, you might be feeling a little bit more relieved because your life should be calming down, and that's because Mars is not in your sign anymore. So hopefully you will not have a price to pay for some sort of a legal problem, because you could have been undergoing a partnership or a legal problem lately while Mars was in your sign, or be associated with, say, an employer who's going through a legal problem. That can make for a lot of financial uncertainty. So whether you're being directly affected by some sort of price that needs to be paid now, or somebody you know is, I can promise you that the amount that has to be paid will be in strict accordance with whatever the problem is. So, you know, you just need to sort of pull in your belt a little bit right now, Libra, and if I were you, I would wait it out right now. There may not be a definitive conclusion to something right now, but I will tell you that something is starting to end. It's starting to conclude, and that's why you should sort of wait a little bit longer if you can, and don't spend any money right now until something is really over legally first. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, oh boy, Mars, your own ruler, is now in your sign. That can make you supercharged, Scorpio. And Mercury just went direct today, so you should be getting some good financial news, Scorpio. And the Sun now is at the 29th degree of fate in your sign. All three planets in your sign are being opposed by that Uranus in Taurus, which means that you too may have to undergo the fluctuation of some sort in your investments in one way or another. That could be true for everybody. And if there is a price to pay right now, Scorpio, it would involve some sort of overindulgence of your own, or sort of stretching something a little too far, maybe stretching your credit limit a little too far. That could be possible too. And because Mars is in your sign, you may want to charge forward and, you know, sort of forcefully control a problem, and under control you could be trying to solve it, when I don't think that's really the way to do it right now, Scorpio. And that is because Neptune is about to go direct in Pisces, and it's trining your Sun. It would be better if you wait until the truth came out about things that have been going on behind the scenes before you made a decision about how to react. Because I think when the truth comes out, which will be around Thanksgiving or early December, many people are going to be surprised. And I think that they need to calm down and absorb the truth first and then decide what to do. And maybe you should hold back on things right now, Scorpio, even though you can feel supercharged. I would not overdo it right now. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, this is a time when you sure have things going your way because Venus and Jupiter are conjuncting in your sign. That is wonderful. I feel like saying congratulations, Sagittarius, because I think that you are going to receive some wonderful recognition if you have been trying to do the greatest good, or there can just be some very good news. It could involve a partnership. It could also involve some peace initiative, because that's what Venus rules, peace and partnership. It could also involve some wonderful contract that really is good. And if there is one presented to you, Sagittarius, yes, you should sign that. But at the same time, everybody can be looking at some financial uncertainty, and we can be contemplating the exposure of some news about things that have been hidden behind the scenes. So I would say enjoy the happiness you could be feeling right now, Sagittarius, but try not to do too many things in your exuberance right now. Just wait a little longer, maybe wait another month or so before you really expand in your life, because I think you will in a good way. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time when things really can be going your way, because Uranus in Taurus is trining Saturn and Pluto in your own sign, and so is the moon in Virgo today. And that simply means there can be some rather good news about your health. And that could be your physical health, your mental well-being, which can improve, and the health of your bank book, Capricorn. So this is going to be a very good holiday season for you. And the planets that are in Scorpio causing problems with that Uranus and Taurus are actually sextiling your sun. And as I said, Uranus and Taurus is trining your sun. They're not causing a problem for you, Capricorn. And so, you know, you can look happily forward to a new start in 2020. All you have to do is quietly go over things again and make sure you've got all your bases covered first. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, this is a time, since there aren't any planets in the air signs, when you may feel like just sort of taking a time out right now. Well, in your time out, Aquarius, you might be contemplating some price you've got to pay right now because Uranus in Taurus is squaring your sun, and that's your own ruler. So there can be a fluctuation in the value of something that you have invested in or that you own. And then Mars, Mercury and the sun in Scorpio are also squaring your sun. That could mean that you owe something. There could be a price that you have to pay, Aquarius. It might be that you made more money this year and so you have to pay higher taxes. That's not such a bad deal. But whatever it is, the price will be in accordance with the size of the problem. So you may not have a real big problem, Aquarius, but it could, if you made more money, you are going to have to pay more taxes. That's not so bad though. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, Neptune is going to go direct in your sign next week. It's been retrograde for months. And at that time, you may be able to feel as if the truth is really out in the open, and you could be really relieved at that. Or you could be able to face the truth or some sort of sobering reality. And that's good because Mars, Mercury, and the sun in Scorpio are trining your sun sign, Pisces. And with Neptune in your sign, all 4 planets are also trining the sign of Cancer. Your home life could really improve, or your family life could improve right now as you're looking forward to the holidays. And also, after Neptune goes direct, you're going to simply be learning a lot more. What it means, Pisces, is that you yourself can be learning more about yourself, facing your capabilities now, and looking at what your dreams cost or what they've cost you so far. Because every choice we make has a price to pay for it. And you may be deciding how much you want to pay as life goes forward, Pisces. And that could be in relation to how much you've already paid or wasted in the past. And so you have to really look things over. But the stars are with you. I think that you'll be very enlightened and have a good holiday. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show, read our blog, and hear our podcast on our website, where we will have new shows during the holidays, or on our YouTube channel, which is called Karen Campbell. Thank you. Bye-bye.